to fade into the sunset. I say we're Mickey and Mallory, wind up swinging from the cottonwood tree. Never going to change the world. It's just a story of a boy and a girl.
What's up, everybody? This is Sound Off with Stixx. This is Keith Stixx from Tsunami Cables, and I'm here with my good friend Devin from D-Cline Designs. What's up, Devin? How you doing?
How's it going? Thanks for having me out.
Absolutely, man. So this podcast is going to be a little bit different than normal because normally we're doing stuff with musicians and stuff like that, and so this will be a lot of fun because it's going to be like two kind of businesses talking business to business, owners, small business guys talking.
Yeah, definitely not a musician.
Yeah, man. So it'll be good. So, cool. Well, let's start with I'll start with kind of how I found you and how we contacted and started talking. And then maybe we'll get some back history of the company and getting you started and all that kind of stuff.
You're gonna tell them about Grindr?
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, all those dark web forums and stuff. So a few years back, I started doing like the lathe turning stuff and doing the custom connectors and all that kind of stuff. And really, it was like somebody else has got to be out here doing this. Like, this stuff's cool. Like, somebody else is like, I gotta do some research and find out and see, because I can't be the only guy who had this idea. So started looking, and then I found your page, and I was like, fuck, and I'm like, somebody else is doing it before me, and they're doing it really well. And but you did the cable like connector thing, and you still do that a little bit. Yeah, but you do mostly knobs, and so that was when I first started noticing that. I was like, okay, well, he's got like almost 10-to-1 knobs compared to like connectors for cables. I'm like, so obviously he's focused on that a little bit more. So I'll keep doing the cable thing and that kind of stuff. And then it was like maybe, I don't know, like six or 7 months later, reached out to you and was just like, hey man, like, this is who I am. Let's do something. Let's put something together. Let's just make something happen and do something. And then, yeah, that was kind of where it started, and I came down to the shop, and we had, like, a crazy-ass night just, like, making shit and glowing stuff and just...
Playing with pigments and sticky, gooey resin.
Right, and all sorts of craziness. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun and really crazy. And, so talk to me about the business and kind of, like, where you started from and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of a lot, but let's start there.
Well, the beginning of the knobs started when I worked for Lace Music Products, Lace Pickups as they're known now.
Okay.
And I've always been kind of a creative type. I was like getting my hands on things and modifying things. And it was funny, it took a while before I realized where it really started, but it was definitely there. And around the time I first started, they have a product called the Alumitone.
Okay.
That's one of their pickup models. And the owner, he had an idea of kind of doing a blinged out version. The bling was real popular at the time, and they wanted to maybe inlay some stones or crystals or glass beads or something into one of these aluminum chassis that go on their pickups. And he gave one to me and some parts. I was like, see if you can do something. And so I played around, and I kind of made some prototypes for him, and he really liked them. And we had a bunch of these dome, just standard press-on chrome knobs later on in the shop. And so I took one of those, and I drilled a little hole in it, and I added the same little Swarovski crystal to that too, and so I basically modified a knob to match this thing. It's like, oh, this could be a set.
Right.
And we also had these Lace Helix bases coming in. They had these big fat data controller knobs on them that were really cool. And some of the bases we brought in were these 5-ply through neck, and it was like trans color on the wings, and then just a natural wood grain for the maple and walnut in the neck. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to have some wooden knobs on there, and I'd never seen wooden knobs at the time.
Right.
And so I started playing around with making some out of maple. They were ugly, they were horrible. I recently found one of my original prototypes when I was visiting Lace a while back. I was like, ugh, I never would have sold one of these. And so it was that, and a coworker of mine, Mike Glendenning, he saw me doing this stuff and messing around, and a good friend of his, who later became a very dear friend of mine, Howard Oye, he was in the shop visiting, and he had one of his bases with him, and Howard had actually made these custom knobs for his base out of this really cool resin acrylic, the same stuff you're using on your cables, which is actually made for pen makers.
Right.
And he kind of grabbed me. He's like, Devin, you got to look at Howard's knobs. I think you've been messing around with knobs. And I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And it stuck in my head.
Right.
And I worked with Howard a little bit later on, and he had given me a chunk of that acrylic. He had it laying in his toolbox. He's like, oh, here, mess around with this. And so I had it around.
That's cool.
And what really kicked it off was I had a buddy of mine custom paint a pick guard. And we had a bunch of pick guards laying around for Lumitones, and we were playing around with anodizing Lumitones in different colors and really bright, vibrant stuff. And I had a buddy of mine do this really crazy kind of acid trip painting of like heads eating other heads, and it was all bright colors.
That's cool.
And I remember thinking like, well, I just can't stick white plastic,
Right.
Fender style knobs on this, or black. It's not gonna.
Right.
It needs something that pops. And my thought was, well, maybe I can get Howard to make some of these cool acrylic knobs, but I didn't know him well. I didn't want to bug him.
Right.
And I had this piece in my shop. And I was like, oh, and I just started messing around with it, and I basically made a knob. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And I just looked up the material. I ordered some, and I got these 2 little blocks of plastic in. And I was able to take this one 5-inch block, and I didn't even have a lathe at the time. I was like grinding it like on a sander to get it roughly shaped, and then I would chuck it upside down in a drill press and sand it and try to smooth it out. But out of this one block, I was able to make 3 knobs, a selector switch tip, and a tremolo cover.
Nice.
So I'm like, that's the whole 5-piece set for a Strat.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I think I'm onto something.
Right.
And I was like, well, this is Howard's thing though, like he does this. And I reached out to him and said, hey, I was playing around with some of this acrylic that you showed me, and I made this set, and I'm thinking about maybe trying to do something with it, but you did it. I don't want to step on your toes.
Right.
And I'm really glad I did, because he was like, you know what, if you had just like ran with it without talking to me, it probably would have hurt me a little bit, but you go with it, man. I'm not going to do anything.
That's cool.
And so I just chased it. And in the beginning, it was hard. Like I made that set, and I would go around to musician friends of mine and be like, what do you think of this? How much do you think you would pay for something like that? And I remember a good buddy of mine was like, oh, I think maybe $25. And I was like, that's cool. I probably spent like $15 in materials, and I spent 8 hours to make it, so this is going to be super profitable right off the get-go. But I never gave up on it. I still kept playing with it. I would make other parts too. I have a brother that's a tattoo artist, and I made some grips for one of his tattoo guns. And I was always just playing around with it. I've always had this interest in working with materials like that. And since I was a kid and I saw like casting and mold making and like prop making, I was like, oh, I want to do that. Like, even my grandfather, he had these resin casted swordfish in his bathroom. This was from a mold. And I remember my mom said, oh yeah, we made those when I was a kid. He bought some resin, and we dyed it and added some glitter. And there was just these decorative things that hung in his bathroom, and I would stare at them every time I was in there when I was a kid. I'm like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And I never learned how from him. It finally came back later.
Right.
But I just always had that fascination with it, and I kept chasing down, like, how could I improve this? How could I make it better?
Right.
And it was when I went to Nordstrand pickups, and I got involved in the boutique bass market, and kind of a high-end industry and a different market. The bass market is very different than the guitar market. It's a totally different demographic.
Yeah.
And more so, it seems like bass players really like to trick out their gear a lot more. They like to bling it out. They like to go for the cool stuff.
Right.
And I grew a lot there, and I got to work under Kerry Nordstrand and learn a little bit about bass building and being in that market, and really improved my skill as a craftsman and the little details and looking for those little scratches from the last grit of sandpaper and trying to work that out with the next one. And I grew a lot there, and that was a big help.
That's cool.
And so I just kind of kept going, and I started taking small orders. I kept meeting bass players and stuff like that were interested, and being involved in the Nordstrand shop. It was very easy to get my hands on scrap that was just going to go to a burn pile or end up in Carrie's smoker anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
I started taking that stuff home, and we would let people who were ordering basses know. It's like, hey, there's somebody here, and we have the scrap from your bass. If you want matching knobs made from the same wood as your bass, we can do that. And just kind of kept going,
Awesome.
Put it on Facebook, and that grew, and started Instagram, and that grew, and here I am.
Right, yeah, now you're stuck here with me.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. Yeah, and I mean, with one of the things that I love the most about stuff like that, and it's kind of similar to my story as well, is just like that willingness to not give up and not really care so much about like the financial gain, like we were talking about that earlier, whatever, but it's like, it's such a cool thing to just be like, I created this, I love that feeling, and then what's really cool is whenever somebody sees it, and like we were talking about, like somebody seeing it and just being like, that's badass.
Yeah.
Like I want that. That's
Yeah.
cool. You
But
know.
how the fuck did you do that?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I came to your shop, there was quite a few of those moments. Like, how the fuck did you do that? And so, yeah, man. So it's really cool, and we share, you know, quite a few similarities in like kind of growing up and being, you know, watching a lot of stuff. We were talking about like Jesse James and all that kind of stuff, and just being really interested in a lot of those, you know, guys that take a passion or almost like a hobby and then making it into like their life, you know, and stuff like that. It's really, really cool and really exciting. It's killer to see that stuff. So
And like you said, and for me, it wasn't about like, oh, I'm trying to chase the money.
Right.
I just wanted to make something, and if I could find a way to make it and have it be profitable, even that was even better, because then it means it could continue, it could grow.
Right.
And it's never about, oh, I want a fancy house or a flashy car. I'm like, I want a CNC machine. I want that bigger drill press. Like, I want more tools so I can make better and cooler stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really what drives me. And you know, I work a full-time day job.
Right.
I'm a husband and a father of two. I do this on the side. Some people think D-Cline Design is a company.
Right.
It's me in my garage, and it's nights and it's weekends, and it's a grind. But I get out there when I can. I do as much as I can.
Absolutely.
And the goal is just to grow it, to be able to continue that, just to continue to have people go, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I want to add that.
Yeah.
And I hope to be able to get to the point where I can make more affordable products too, like stuff that's like, it's still cool, it's still custom, it's still unique, but it's a little easier to obtain for,
exactly.
you know, people who are just starting out or trying to trick out their instruments and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's something too that you and I both kind of, you know, battle too, is like, you know what I mean, you can go and buy a $10 cable. You know what I mean? And it's like, and so people look at it and go, well, why is this cable $150 when I could go buy the same cable, you know, a cable that theoretically does the same thing for, you know, for $10. And same thing with the knobs. It's like, you know, the knob thing, it's like, why am I going to spend this much on a set of knobs when I could go buy off the shelf or whatever, you know, super cheap plastic molded knobs.
Exactly.
And that's the difference, is you're getting a super cheap plastic molded knob, you know, and it's like,
it's not function, it's jewelry.
right,
really.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is too, is it's like what people I don't think get either is the amount of work that goes into it. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about, you know, like 8 hours for a set of knobs, you know what I mean? And so, and you know, that kind of stuff. And people don't see that, and they see like the big price tag, and they just think, oh, this guy's just trying to, you know, pay for some expensive, you know, toy or whatever, luxury. And it's like, no, man, we're just trying to make ends meet. You know, we're just trying to like get stuff figured out.
My entire garage is dedicated to this. And
Right.
There's a lot of equipment and tools in there that I've had to beg, borrow, and steal over time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's even sandpaper ain't cheap. But it adds up. Super glue, sandpaper, the accelerator alone you have to use for curing the super glue is $15 for a little can, and you blow through that in just a couple sets trying to do a high gloss finish. And, you know, you're just trying to keep that machine running so that your wife doesn't yell at you. Like, this is losing us money, and you're gone all the time. So you have to make enough money to pay for the tools, the materials, and occasionally something nice for the wife and the kids, so that you continue to make cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's crazy, man. And I think people don't necessarily realize that, and then, you know, and it obviously it expands to, you know, bass building, you know, luthier, stuff like that. I mean, we both know a lot of those guys, and you know that make maybe, you know, 10 to 15 instruments in a year, or if that, and they're, you know, and you have people are like, well, why does this cost so much? It's like, well, because you don't know how many hours are put into that, and then plus too, I mean, like how much, you know, I mean, I can't imagine, I can't even count how many hours when it comes to like R&D to what we, you know, to a finished product. I know, like we were just talking about the first, you know, seeing the first knob, and you're like, oh my god, you know, it's like how many hours has it been from that knob to now? You know what I mean? Where you're, you know, I mean, you've gained so much in knowledge and ability and all that kind of stuff that, you know, now it's like, yeah, you go in there and you can turn it out pretty quick, and you know all the steps, and you know the process, and you know what's going to happen next, and what to do here so this is easier or whatever. You know all those things, and you know people don't realize that part of what you're paying for is that too. You know what I mean? Is that part? Process.
One of the best analogies I heard for that specific scenario was related to a graphic designer.
Right.
And the example was a customer comes in and says, you know, I'm looking for this and that, and the guy goes, okay, and he, you know, whips open the programs, he kind of bangs it out in about 15, 20 minutes, like that's going to be $150.
Right.
And the customer goes, it took you 20 minutes. He goes, yeah, but it took me thousands of hours and lots of money in software and a lot of schooling to get to the point. or I can do it in 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like
Yep.
there's a lot on the back end of getting to the point where
Yep.
you're efficient at it that you're still trying to make up for.
Right.
And you might not ever make up for it by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and again, that equates to, you know, musicians too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you know, someone looks and it's like, well, I'm paying you a couple $100 for the gig, and it's like, yeah, but you also have to realize it took me years to get the talent and the ability enough to be able to build up, to be able to play that music that you want to dance to,
Right.
or whatever. So
And the thousands of dollars worth of gear,
Yeah,
and the
that
car to
too.
get it
Right.
here,
Yeah.
and the gas, and the
Absolutely.
hour and a half of loading it all, and
Yep.
unloading it, and setting it up, and tearing it down.
Absolutely, yeah.
They only want to pay for the song, not
Yeah.
for everything it took to get the song there live.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. So yeah, man, it's definitely kind of crazy. Obviously, I know you're super crazy busy. We've been talking about that a lot. And so, what are some things that you've got coming up, or things that you want to do with some different things? Like, where do you see
Oh,
sleep?
sleep would be nice. Well, the list of things I want to do is
Right.
endless. It really is. Like I said, I do want to get some more user friendly as far as price wise.
Right.
Everything I make right now is from scratch.
Right.
You know, it either starts with a raw piece of wood or a raw. Sometimes I use a blank material, kind of like some of the stuff you use on some of the cables, where
Right.
it's from like Beartooth Woods or
Right.
one of the pen turning websites that
Right.
supplies that stuff. And there's some incredible, beautiful stuff out there that I can't replicate.
Right.
And sometimes I get customers who want something more custom, and that's when I'll
Right.
pull out the resin and I'll start casting. But
Right.
it all starts from scratch.
Right.
And I'd like to get to the point by maybe making some killer custom molds where I can cast resin directly into a pre-form shape with a little bit of cleanup and finish up work after that. Maybe
Right.
a press-on knob model, something that's a little less labor intensive, something I can stock up a little bit on.
Right.
Because right now everything's custom order, you know.
Right.
A customer has to reach out. Everybody's knob layout's different.
Right.
You know, everybody goes, why don't you just stock up a bunch of stuff? Because I'll make a set, and then, or maybe I'll make 5 knobs, and I'll get somebody like, that's really cool, but I got 4 knobs in a stack.
Right.
Or I'll make 4 in a stack and be like, that's cool, but I have this pot, and it's actually a little different, and that doesn't
Right.
fit.
Yeah.
You know, there's 4 or 5 different varieties of stack pots out there, and
Right.
that's always a constant challenge.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
it's always, for the time being, it's always been best just to take them one at a time,
Mhm.
deal with each customer independently,
Right.
you know, build it to spec for them,
Right.
you know, and I've always, up until now, and the way I've still done things is I take orders and I don't charge my customers till I'm done.
Right.
You know, we talk about it, I make sure I have a good understanding of what they want, and my deal is, look, I'm gonna build this, and when I'm done, I'm gonna send you the pictures, and you're gonna check it out, and if that's what you wanted, then we'll arrange payment, I'll send it out to you.
That's cool.
You know, and that was just, that's how I started, because nobody knew who I was.
Right.
I didn't want, I'm not gonna send some guy 100, 150, 200 bucks to make knobs, I don't even know if he's any good at it.
Right.
Or if he's even gonna make what I want, or it's gonna be the wrong color.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and every once in a while, your customers like, that's just not what I was looking for. And all right, let's go back to the drawing board, or if you don't wanna move on, that's fine, but
Right.
for the most part, we usually kinda nail it, we figure it out, and
Yeah.
we keep going.
That's great, and I mean, it's cool because that's again part of the, you know, like small business, you know, like entrepreneur type. You know what I mean? Like, you know, handling customer service, all that. I mean, you don't get that from, you know, some company that's making, you know, 1,000 knobs a day, you know, out of a machine, you know, kind of
Yeah.
thing. You're not going to get that, you know. So yeah, it's really cool.
But at least with that company, you get a customer service department that will take your calls and answer your emails
That's true,
promptly.
yeah. And send you 5 out that, you know, are,
Yeah.
you know, that
It's-
from the first ones that broke or messed up, you know, whatever, a whole new set, yeah.
And I'm sure, as you know, with a small business, and if you're doing it and working a regular job too, it's hard.
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
work a full-time job, and right now we're in a peak season, and it's just,
Right.
I might be at work 12 hours a day, I might bring home a couple more hours, I'm
Right.
on the road just commuting another hour and a half.
Right.
I still gotta see the wife and kids, and
Right.
then maybe if I can get out to the shop, it's an hour or two, and it's like, do I go make the knobs I have on order, or do I try to answer all these emails and questions and
Right.
comments, and
Yep.
it's just like, oh, like,
Yeah.
it's taxing, and
Oh,
I just,
yeah.
I'm trying to, you can't keep everybody happy and sleep at the same time.
Right, absolutely. No, I understand that completely. There's times I get here and it's like, I jump on the computer, start answering emails. The next thing you know, it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I
You haven't
gotta
made
go
a single
home.
cable.
Yeah, and I'm like, I didn't get anything shipped out today. I didn't get anything built, and I'm like, and the day's over with, you know. And you're just like, shit, okay, do it tomorrow. You know?
I have this horrible habit of, I tend not to post stuff I've worked on
Uh,
until I feel like I've I've gotten back to everybody, but I've never been able to get back to everybody. And so like I've got a camera roll just full of knobs that I've made that I'm sure people would love to see and get ideas from. And
Right.
I just haven't put it up. So I'm like, man, I got to write Bob back because he asked me a question 3 weeks ago.
Right.
I've been so busy, I haven't been able to answer his question about that.
Right.
But it's the grind. Luckily,
Yeah.
we don't make any devices that involve saving people's lives.
Right. Yeah. Nobody's dying because they didn't
Yeah.
get their knobs or cable. So, yeah, absolutely, man. That is hilarious. That's really funny. Cool. Well, let's go through a couple of these questions that I've got. These ones I think will definitely work. Like I said, a little different because we're not talking like music stuff, but I think this will definitely work. So, what is your favorite word? And it can be of the 4-letter variety.
Probably fuck.
Yeah.
I get these a lot. I'll make my wife happy.
Yeah.
It's just so useful.
It is. It is extremely useful.
The one
For
thing
sure.
that'll always crack my wife up is if I see a color that's so vibrant and it's just the purity of that color, I'll be like, that is fucking blue.
Yeah.
And
I like
she
that.
hates that I said it, but she knows exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
She's like, you're right,
You're
that's fucking blue.
I love it. That is good. That is really funny. What is your least favorite word?
What did we talk about earlier? Branding,
Yeah.
influencer. It all feels like the same as snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm trying to get over on somebody.
Right.
I want it to all feel honest and pure in the end. Like it's
Right,
just the
right.
intent of the quality or the craftsmanship.
Yeah.
And anything that feels like it's just trying to weasel a dollar out of somebody, it tends to turn me off. Even though that's not always the intent or what it means.
Right.
It's important. I mean, branding is important. It's important. This is branding. It's people knowing like what's
Right.
your intent, what's
Yeah.
your message, or
Who are
what are you
you?
doing behind this? Because
Right.
people care about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, to elaborate a little bit too is, we both make a higher end expensive product.
Mhm.
So people want to know and care about like, okay, if I'm going to drop, a couple $100 with this guy,
Yeah.
who is he? What is he doing?
Yeah.
What's the reasoning for this? Why is it that much? Whatever. So yeah, absolutely. People like seeing that stuff. And
Yeah, you tend to hate those products when somebody goes, oh, I bought that for $200, and you're like, if you know anything about manufacturing, you go, I'm pretty sure that costs like $3 to make.
right, yeah, exactly. I hate that too when I
Yeah,
see
you're
that
like,
stuff.
oh.
Yeah, or you see the price tag, even if you don't know somebody who bought it, you see the
Mhm.
price tag of something, you're like, there's probably $5 of materials there.
Yeah.
They're charging $150 for
Yeah.
it, and it's like, ugh, yeah, that's rough. Absolutely. Well, since you've been around music so much, this is also kind of a good one. It doesn't necessarily have to relate to music. What sound or noise do you love?
Bass drum.
Yeah, okay.
I love a good rock song when it's just,
Yeah.
like, you want to feel it in your chest.
Right.
I rarely get out to live shows, but every time I do, it's just like, oh, I miss this so much. Some people don't understand that certain songs need to be played at volume.
Right.
And it can't be on in the background. You need to feel it move
Yeah.
through your body. And I have no musical talent. I've spent all my time on the lathe and on the tools and trying to fabricate, but I still love it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
My mom played piano and a little bit of guitar, and
Nice,
I grew up
okay.
around it. My dad played guitar and a little
Cool.
bit of bass and a little bit of drums, and
Cool.
I was around it. I didn't quite get as much of the bug for it, but
Right.
it's an important thing.
Oh,
And just
absolutely.
that quality, that when you feel music moving through you, and it's usually in some sort of bass quality, and
Right.
I got that a lot when I was working at Nordstrom.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it's time to test the basses. When you
Yeah.
feel it's going through you, and it's important. I feel it's really important, and it kind of inspires you. Like, oh yeah, I'm trying to make things that inspire that artist. That
Right.
make him love his gear that much more. That tie
Yeah.
him into his gear. Like this is my thing. It's customized to me and my specs and what I want to inspire me.
That's cool, man.
So
Yeah, no, absolutely, I love it. So the opposite of that, what sound or noise do you hate?
that one's a little harder. Yeah, anything that's squeaking.
Yeah.
Oh, the job I have now, I'm in the warehouse a lot, and whenever a forklift doesn't lift the pallet all the way up the ground, and you can hear the
Oh, yeah.
nails in the forklift
Yeah.
scratching across the concrete floor,
Yeah. I know
that
exactly.
that one's
yeah.
bad.
No,
It's
that's
like
bad.
like the nails on a blackboard kind of
Yeah,
sound. Like,
right.
That is not necessary. Just hit
Yeah.
that lever and
Yeah.
bring that pallet up another quarter inch, and nobody has to hear that.
Yeah. Completely unnecessary. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like nails on a chalkboard times 10 because like it's also volume wise so much louder too. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. Oh, I got chills 'cause I know that sound. So I'm
it's
like,
horrible.
oh, it is extremely horrible. Absolutely. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, I always want to be involved in making things.
Right.
If I went back to school right now, it'd probably be to get more into engineering, more into
Okay.
designing. If I could, doesn't matter what the part is, if it's a hinge for that mic stand, like
Right.
if I could be involved in CAM and CAD and drawing and just
Right.
trying to tweak and make things better, and you know, being something in a creative aspect like that.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would shoot for. I mean, it's kind of what I try to do on the side and what I do
Right.
with this stuff now, but it would have to be in an artistic, a creative.
Right.
And I see, and you know, I see the artistic side of everyday products
Right.
and mechanical things.
Mhm.
Like some, you look at anything, like somebody designed it that way. Somebody
Right.
decided to roll that edge off a little bit, or to chamfer this, or to,
Right.
you know, like they didn't have to. They
Right.
could have just made it a block, but
Right.
they decided like I'm gonna
Yeah.
round that corner, and
Right.
you know, there was a little bit of them went into it. And anything you look at, you'll see it if you look at it. Or you try to take the measurements off of something, you'll see like the logic behind the radius or the spacing. You're like, oh, he was working in millimeters, or he was working in inches, and he liked to space those holes every quarter of an inch or something like that.
Right. No, it's cool, man. Absolutely. Yeah, it's great. I mean, kind of going through that same thing right now with the preamp design and doing all that, and it's like, it's crazy. And it's like certain little things, it's like, okay, well, what if we took this corner off? Or what if we, rounded that edge? Or what if we put the, spaced these two knobs closer and then left more space to the next
Yeah.
one over? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's so many, and it's funny because talking with even like my amp builder, a lot of times, he's very much more like kind of methodical in the approach and not so much the design. And even just like the picking of the machine screws to bolt two things together.
Yeah.
It's like that was a battle between him and I, because he's like, well, I don't want it to look like this, or I don't want it to do this. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm looking at it from a design standpoint. Like, I want it to look like
Right.
this. And aesthetically, this is more pleasing than those,
Yeah.
or whatever. And he's thinking, I just want a cheap bolt, that's going to work. And I'm like, no. So, but yeah, it's stuff like that. So, no, I totally get it. And you're right. And it's cool whenever you have, I think it's a certain mindset to, a certain degree, of like guys like us that see certain things and go, that's cool. It didn't have to be that way to work, but somebody made it that way
Yeah.
because that's what they wanted, or
Yeah,
something
I
like
gotta
that.
make it. I might as well make it look cool.
Right. It's exactly how I look at things too. Absolutely. Yeah, man, that's really cool. Cool, then. Well, where can people find you online?
Well, they have to hunt me down.
Yeah, I was like, it might be a bigger.
I think I've got a website that says page under construction for about 8 years now. Oh, maybe
Nice.
10 years.
Nice. All right.
Mostly on Facebook, Instagram.
Right.
Shoot me a DM.
Right.
I do have an email address. That's Devin, Devin at D-Cline Design.com. So
Gotcha.
D-Cline Design.
Right.
And shoot me an email. Cool. Shoot me a message, and they can reach out, and if you're lucky, I'll get back to you sometime this year and see how I can help you.
Right. Yeah.
They're all there, and I get to them when I can, but the list is long.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So get on the list.
Yeah, get on the list.
Get on the list.
I really need a website, and all it is like a digital version of take a number
Yeah.
and just wait.
That's hilarious. That's great. Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, so everybody else kind of knows, we're doing a lot of stuff together. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff this next year together, putting things in works. That was part of this, Devin coming out and us talking and doing stuff. So definitely keep an eye out for all the stuff we're going to be doing this year. And that's pretty much it. Thanks, Devin, for coming out, man.
Thank you for having me out, and I'm sure we will have some very cool things coming out in the near future.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and peace.